Hold on now. Social distancing. Let's back it up. What's going on, you beautiful humans? Welcome back to the channel, and I've got a quick one for you today. I've been meaning to record this one. Actually, I had a lot of the footage from before, but wanted to get into helping you with your Sony Alpha cameras. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about the a6400 and the 6500, but this will work on your Sony camera, and this is giving you the zoom ability on a prime lens, whether you have a prime lens like this Sigma 16mm or a prime lens like I shot with in the test footage with this 85mm. It's actually a full frame lens that I put on the 6400. So what I want to get into is helping you discover what your camera can do, and you probably don't already know, and that is the ability to zoom within the camera. And we are talking about clear image zoom, and really, not to get too technical with the clear image zoom aspects here, it's just using the sensor for you to be able to punch in on your subject a little bit more. For APS-C cameras, we're talking about 1.5 times, and for full frame, because it's a bigger sensor, you can get up to 2 times your focal length on your lens. So let me actually show you some examples, and then I will also show you in the menu settings how to get all of this done in your camera. So first, let's actually take a look at the footage. All right, so just as a heads up, just letting you know that everything here is in 4K. That is what you want. Can you do it in 1080p? Yes, but you're gonna lose the detail in your image. So shooting in 4K is the way to go here. So we'll just kind of take a look at this soccer ball. I'm focused in on the soccer ball, and as we zoom in, you will see that pretty much didn't lose much detail, if any detail. Now, let's keep in mind too that with an unstabilized lens and having an unstabilized camera, you want to make sure that you have a remote, because as you'll see, when you're touching the camera and you're trying to zoom in, you get a little bit of that shake. And I think just in general, you need to focus in on getting your shot stabilized anyway and putting it on a tripod. So just make sure that you have your shot stabilized and you're using a remote, a very simple remote that I recommend, this Sony remote. Very low entry point here. I use this remote a lot when it comes to shooting photos, and then of course videos and being able to zoom in. And as far as a moving subject is concerned, I will show you a clip of my son juggling his soccer ball. So we're still at the 85mm focal length here, really 127 equivalent because it's an APS-C lens. And then we are punched in with clear image zoom now at 190mm. And again, this is at 4K. But to reiterate, like I said, if you were in 1080p, you are going to lose some of that detail. Feel free to use 1080p if you want to, but like I said, it's going to start getting soft on your subject or what you're trying to focus on, and especially around your subject. Now, another drawback, and of course this might be open for interpretation, but I personally shoot everything in RAW. However, for those of you that want to use this function, you're going to need to shoot in JPEG, and I will show you, run you through the menu setup so that you can do that in camera. So that's toward the end of the video, but let's actually look at some photos that I shot in JPEG using the 85mm. All right, so in Lightroom here, wanted to really show this almost straight out of camera. I just kind of tweaked the contrast just a little bit, just some minor tweaks. But what we have here is a soccer ball at the 85mm, or really the 85mm lens that is not zoomed in. And as you'll see, I've got this focused on the soccer ball. So I did manual focus, have it focused mostly here on the soccer ball. You can see pretty good detail there. And then if we come over here to the clear image zoom, so that's just zoomed in, and for the most part, we'll see no real change here, and still getting some of that detail with the stitching and the ball itself. And like I said, I focused specifically on the ball, and even here, well, there's still some detail over here. But again, just keep in mind, I was mostly focused, I mean, blades of grass, but mostly focused here. So not really a lot of detail loss, and nothing that I can really see between the two here. So the original, still see the blades of grass. And then the zoomed in, oh, my computer's actually working here. So yeah. All right, so let's actually get into the menu system here, and it's pretty much the same for the most part with all of these Sony Alpha cameras. I'm gonna be using my Sony a6400 as the example menu. All right, so for photos, we want to be in JPEG. So as I have it here, I'm in RAW, but we're gonna go ahead and select that and bring that down to JPEG. And of course, that is on 1 and page 1. Now for video, we want to be in 4K. So we need to pop over here to 2, and then that's gonna be on page 1. And I typically record in 4K, so that's never an issue, but obviously you can select that here, but I am in 4K. Then what we're actually going to do is go down to page 5 to make sure that our zoom setting is clear image zoom right here. I'm already on that. And then what we want to make sure that we know which button to push. So I'm going to go over to page 8, and under the custom keys, we are going to see here that for the images, I just have, I think, probably what was default for 1, 2, and 3. And so as we see for the custom buttons, going down to 3, really what this is that is the custom button 2, and as you'll see, that is the zoom function, which on the camera is the delete button. So on the a6500, that's actually going to be C3, but on the a6400, that delete button or the trash can button is C2. Then we're going to come back out, and then for movie, it's going to be the same thing here. So we'll scroll down, and then you'll see what we're doing here as we go down to that. The custom button 2, that follows the custom button for images. So it's the same setup, same button, no confusion there. All right, so if you've got a prime lens that you're completely in love with, like this Sigma 16mm or the 85mm that I shot on, or a 50mm or any other prime lens, I do love prime lenses because many of the ones that I use, they're really fast, they're tack sharp, and they're just very versatile, and even more so when you're shooting on a Sony Alpha camera and you can get that clear image zoom. And again, I do recommend trying to lock off those shots as much as possible. And again, if you're doing portraiture, if you're working with like a model or a subject that you need to be moving around at least side to side, still try to figure out ways to brace yourself against something so that you can get that steady shot, especially as you're zooming in with clear image zoom. What questions or comments or any kind of conversation can we have below? Hit me up. You know I love having that conversation there in the comment section. As always, go out there and do those things that matter. And of course, right now, it's probably just in your backyard, but go experiment with it. Keep rocking faces. I appreciate your time and attention on this one, and I will keep creating more content for you here, more value, and I'll catch you on the next one.